Do-do-do-do-do. All right. Good evening. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Happy hump day. I'm Patrick from Have Cheetah Will View. Welcome to Eight Questions With. Tonight we'll be talking to film journalist, critic Bobby LePire from Film Threat Magazine. He will be here in about 15 minutes. Until then, we'll just go ahead and I'll welcome everybody in who's coming in. We'll be joined by special co-host due to by popular demand, it seems like today. So today's special guest host will be none other than our good friend Brett. This is Brett Kelly of the Wookie Shark. That's right. He's going to join us for this show. If I could put him right here, I guess I could. I could just sit right there and just chill. So why the Wookie Shark? Well, because he's gotten a lot of love today. It seemed like the final girls of horror have taken it upon themselves to review Wookie Shark. And so whenever there's a Wookie Shark review, we got to bring out Brett. So we'll introduce him to Bobby when Bobby gets here. I don't think Bobby's met Brett Kelly yet. Yeah, somehow I don't think Brett Kelly's ever made Film Threat magazine. I could be wrong. That's a question we'll ask him. But somehow I've just not seen any. I'm not seeing Wookie Shark in Film Threat magazine. Well, maybe as in if you review that film in our magazine, we're gonna pound you. All right. Yeah. So yesterday we were attacked by us gremlins for our interview with Sherry Davis. Hi Ruth, how are you? Um, what's VOG? VOG. I know for your information is, but I don't know what VOG is. Um, so yeah, yesterday we were attacked by gremlins, unfortunately, for our interview with Sherry Davis. So we had to push that interview back to Friday. So if you see me doing my local rounds and you see Sherry Davis back up, that's the reason why. Is because we have to redo we had to redo the interview. It's going to be a good one too. I'm telling you, it was already starting to pop a little bit, but unfortunately, like I said, it happens. Um, sometimes sometimes it happens. The tech just doesn't want to keep up. Doesn't has we have snafus, but she will be back on Friday night. Tomorrow night we will be having animal rescuer extraordinaire Calvin Tucker will be on the show at 8 o'clock. I'm so happy to meet him. Um, oh, and this is Brett Kelly right here. This is Brett Kelly. As you can see, he's our Wookie Shark. This is the Wookie Shark from the movie, and we named him Brett. So so you can't say that you can't say you haven't met some famous people on the channel because now you met the famous Wookie Shark. Uh, I am looking forward to tomorrow night very much, as I am tonight. I have known Bobby LePire actually for many years. When I first started reviewing, one of the first people I met when I got on Facebook. We've been friends for a really long time, and Bobby used to run a YouTube channel himself, and he used to do film reviews. And I call Bobby like the babyface assassin because when you meet him, he really is a really nice guy. He really is. He's really, when you see him, he's very professional looking. He's very, he's there. He's debonair. He's a very cool guy. Huge cat lover. But Bobby can bring the heat. Bobby's like a firecracker when it comes down to movie reviews. If you have a bad movie, you don't want to get on his bad side. Um, if your movie's really bad, like Wookie Shark, He's the only person I know who could write a bad review on California, and on the East Coast, the guy who made the film will suddenly develop a really severe limp. Um, not to say he just basically tells you what he thinks, and he's really honest and he's really direct about it. Um, his reviews on his YouTube channel are amazing and classic to me. He used to do rankings of the list. He used to do lists before anybody else I ever met did lists, and like he reviewed like the 150 superhero movies that were out at the time. Oh, if you're on the bottom third of that list, I felt so bad for you because he was just being honest. Um, but it was so awesome. I just love his style of reviewing. I think he's fair. I think he's honest. Um, though he did say something I'm gonna have to call him out on right now. I think Cyrano looks really good, Bobby. I think Cyrano will be fine. He says that doesn't look very good. I don't know. We might have to talk about that a little bit more here when he gets here. Um, uh, Let me tell you what's coming up for next week, because next week is going to be a very busy week for us here on Eight Questions With. We have 5 shows scheduled. Five, five. Um, Next Tuesday, on the 14th, we're welcoming Tom Joliffe. He's a filmmaker and he's also a critic. He's also a journalist. He writes for Flickery Myth magazine, and he'll be here on Tuesday at 2 p.m. And then at 8 o'clock on the 14th, we'll be welcoming veteran comic book inker Mick Gray. Artist Mick Gray will be here. He's worked for Marvel and DC both. He'll be here to talk about his career and working with a lot of different type of personalities. Looking forward to talking to him about that. He's also a DJ, so we'll talk to him about the state of music. The very next day, Wednesday, 15th, we go back across the pond to England to talk to our friend Darren James King, who wrote and directed a brand new film that we reviewed called April. We'll be talking to him about his film career. Me and Darren have been friends for years as well. He's one of his actually his one of his films was one of the very first ones I reviewed. So we'll be talking to him about his career. He's an excellent director on the rise. He deserves bigger projects. He needs to be given a chance. Um, hey Casey, and then on the bottom half of the show, we have actress Alexis Icano is here. Not only is she a actress in front of the camera, she is a very much sought after voiceover artist for video games, specifically the Warcraft series. She's done a lot of voiceover acting work, and we'll be talking to her about her career and what's it like to be a voice actor. It's different. It's a lot different from being on camera. So that'll be at 8 p.m. And then on the 16th, it's one of our own is coming into the show. One of our own member of our community, Night from the Night Watch Zone, will be here on the 16th at 8 p.m. And we'll be talking all things horror. We'll be talking about The Shining and Battlestar Galactica, um, Monday Slasher what's this? Monday Slasher Club, just tons of movies, tons of content. Talking about his channel, how he got his start in horror, and so we'll be talking tonight on the 16th. And then on the 21st of December, we have a kaiju roundtable. This will be our first one that we've done on the channel. We're doing a roundtable. Basically, it's just a bunch of us fellows getting around here, and we're talking about some kaijus. Talking about some Godzilla, King Kong, Gamera, Jet Jaguar, Gypsy Danger. So we'll be talking about our favorite monster movies on the 21st. In fact, Casey, our friend Casey in the chat here, Interweb Kaiju, he'll be a part of that panel. And then on the last show before our Christmas break will be on the 22nd, and we are going to New Zealand for the first time. We've been to Australia, but we have not been to New Zealand. But we are on the 22nd. We are interviewing Rachel Ferguson. Rachel Ferguson, and she is known as, she calls herself the Warrior Woman, and I agree with that. She is undergoing, she is fighting bowel cancer. So we were talking to her about her journey, and uh, uh, and she's raising awareness about the disease because yeah, it's not one of those sexy diseases like breast cancer is, where you can put pink on it and run around and market it. When someone mentions bowel cancer, people don't want to hear that word. It's hard to market it, hard to put it on a pizza box. But we're talking about Rachel, about her journey, and then another first for us on December 28th, we are welcoming in Marciano Salino, and he scores movies. He does music scores. The background music you hear in movies to really drive it. Uh, a good score is absolutely important for a movie, and we'll be talking to our first composer um, on the 28th. And then on the 29th, we'll be talking to our friend Sonia Richards, an actress who is up and coming. And then on the 30th of December, the last show of the year, we talked to my friend Natalie Fajita, and Natalie is an amazing person, and she 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 is the person who booked Nirvana before they were Nirvana. I mean, they were Nirvana on the way up. She booked them on one of the most legendary shows in San Jose live music history. Um, yeah, she gets. I get asked more and told more than once that I was the one that did that show, and that's not even true. I was not even in the scene when that happened, but Natalie was, and she booked Marsugi's before anybody else did. So she saw her fair share of famous folks come through there. So we talking to Natalie about her career, and she's also DJing as well. So the rest of December is action packed for sure. Um, I'm really happy with it. I hope you guys will all come out and support it. Our friend Bobby will be here in about 3 minutes or so. Uh, yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun. Ugh. Whew. I'm sort of digging the fact that this Wookie Shark suddenly came out of nowhere and got a lot of love again. I think it's rather awesome myself. Uh, I mean, and yes, that is true. They are making another movie. They are making another Ouija Shark movie. Um, I guess when Wild Eye released it over in Japan, um, it was a big hit. I mean a big hit. Um, I mean enough so that they're going to make another one out of it. Not that they didn't have any hard time recouping their money for the first one, because the first one only cost. Um, I know Karen mentioned, she quoted in her review, Ocean Chicks Films, that the movie cost $300 Canadian. Um, I think it cost $216 actually. The exact amount was $216. Yeah, yeah. What is a budget? Well, why don't they actually do a few in-house productions. I know that they do in-house productions for Mark Polonia, and I also believe they do in-house productions for not Dustin Ferguson, but for Brett Kelly films. So yes, they do get money for some films. I personally wish they give money to John Magliore, because I'd love to see that. I'd love to see that guy make another movie. Um, he played the he actually played the father in Ouija Shark, the one who got killed. And then he was doing the Doctor Strange shit at the end of the movie. He made a movie after that called The Creature from Cannibal Creek, and that movie is very fun. That's one of the more fun movies I review from Wild Eye. I really really enjoyed that a lot. Um, and it's funny as hell is that Brett Kelly had a cameo in that, as he was a guy talking on the phone. But But I just found it funny that one of his actors, who he cast in his films, came back and made a film that was better than his. Yes, you have $216 US. That's exactly what it was. So as as you can see, that you could have got Brett here at a Dollar Tree. So here's the shark for $1. This is Brett. The Brett Kelly only cost $1. So that's $215 that he will have to account for. All right, let me go knock on Bobby's door here in the. Hopefully we. Oh, there he is, man. He is ready to go. He is popping already. Bobby,
How are you, dude?
good man, good. We're joined by special guest host today. We're joined by our good friend Brett Kelly. We might remember Brett Kelly, the master director of Wookie Shark. This is our Brett Kelly. We got a copy of the Wookie Shark figure, and we named it Brett. So he's our special guest host tonight.
Where did you get that?
I was sent to this a friend of mine named Derek. He sent this to me.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, some young ladies calling themselves the Final Ladies of Horror, a new group here on YouTube, which is most welcome. They're 3 women. They're all horror fans, and they're all doing they're all going to be doing a live stream.
Oh, that's awesome.
I know, you just never see that, right?
Yeah.
I'm just like stoked. I can't wait to see that, because it's like, honestly, it's going to be so nice to see a fresh perspective. Because let's be honest, I mean, what would you rather look at? 3 women or somebody like me telling you about?
Is Paladin part of this? Because Paladin's pretty cute.
Yeah. Okay, let me put this in another way. I do try to bring the Cheetah up. He might make an appearance. He might make an appearance.
My cat might also. She likes to get in laps when we're just sitting, no matter what we're doing. So
how is Shiloh anyway?
She's good. She's on a medicine. She had a now I can't remember what it is. She's on Filmazole, I think is how it's pronounced. And she'll be taking that forever now. So twice a day.
Okay.
But she gets wet food afterwards, which makes it much better because she loves the wet food.
Oh yeah. Paladin loves the wet food too, but his favorite is Temptations. Temptation turkey treats. Yeah, he'll kill you for those.
Oh
wow. But yeah, he likes wet food too. He eats dry. He's good, but once in a while he'll get that hankering for wet food, and he'll tell me all about it. And so I had to break it out. That's one thing I did mention when I was telling people about you. I said, we're cat guys, because you had Shiloh. You had Shiloh before I had the Cheetah, as far as on camera.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I wasn't doing anything on camera when I first met you. You were doing your reviews before I got on the tube. And
yeah, I guess that's right.
Yeah. I had the Cheetah on the blog. I had pictures of the Cheetah on the blog, but I didn't have them on. I wasn't doing camera on the tube yet. I was telling folks about I called you the babyface assassin, because as everybody can see you now, I mean, you look meek and mild, but they have no idea just how fiery you spit. I love it. You're definitely one of my, huh?
I just have lots of opinions. That's all.
Oh, I love it. I mean, I still laugh my ass off when I think about the superhero list. Man, I think Marvel and DC, I mean, if they would have watched that, I think they probably would have quit making movies.
Yeah, probably.
Or at least for the bottom 50. I think you put Spawn I think you and I were talked about that. I think you put Spawn in the bottom 50, and we had to talk about that.
I I enjoy Spawn, but that doesn't mean it's good. The two very different things.
It's blasphemy. Spawn is mighty.
Spawn is fun. Michael Jai White's great. I love John Leguizamo as the clown, but the CGI is bad. The story structure doesn't make sense.
Yes,
The
but
CGI is bad.
It has Melinda Clark in a cat suit.
Fair.
I mean, doesn't that even it out? I mean, it had Melinda Clark in it.
A little bit.
And it had Martin Sheen quoting lines from they were poking fun at Apocalypse Now.
They were, which was fun.
Oh my!
Yeah,
you remember that? Because John Leguizamo, he's there as a clown. He's going like he's threatening Martin Sheen. He says, I was hoping you would have you start your heart and kickstart the apocalypse now. And I was like, oh shit, he did not just do that. Oh my gosh. So I'm glad you're here. So we're going to talk about, I just wanted to talk about your career a little bit, how you got your start, and then we'll talk about the status of movies. What are some of your favorites? What movies you think maybe not so much? I said this already, but I have to say this now. I think Cyrano looks really good.
I first saw that trailer in front of something fairly recently. I don't remember what it was off the top of my head. And the first minute is great, and then they start singing, and I am just nope. And I love musicals. And Cyrano de Bergerac as a musical makes sense, but there's something about how that trailer is structured that as soon as they start singing, I lose all interest in everything going on, which is weird, but it doesn't work. And maybe it's just a bad trailer. I don't know, but yeah.
I think what part of the charm is though for that, because they had Peter Dinklage sing one of the songs on I want to say on Stephen Colbert's show, and okay, I'll be honest with you, because it was my forte. Was a talent buyer. Do I think Peter Dinklage is a good singer? No, I don't. I don't think that's something that comes to him naturally. I don't. I think if you asked him, probably one of those, do you consider yourself a singer? He'd probably sit there and tell you himself that no. But I also think that's exactly why it does work. It's because he's not a professional, and he
doesn't have a song in the trailer I've seen. There's only one song sung by Haley Bennett and then her love interest, Soldier Guy, and it's just a variation of the same song. And that's all. Yeah. That's the only song that's featured. And it's not a very good song based on the 2.5 minutes or however long you hear it.
Hopefully the voices will, I felt the same way. I'll tell you the movie that I felt the same way about. I didn't think it had, I thought it was a fun movie. I enjoyed watching it. I enjoyed the singing in it, but the songs themselves really were terrible. Not very good at all, and that was The Greatest Showman.
I hate that. I hate that movie. I hate that movie.
The songs are just like shallower than paper. There's no lyrics except for one song. The rest of them are just not very good at all.
Yeah, that movie was part of my worst New Year's Eve ever. My wife and I were living in Charleston at the time, and I was really looking forward to it. I love Hugh Jackman. I love musicals. They should have been fun. So we go out to this little shopping plaza area where there's a theater. We do a little bit of just, late night New Year's shopping, do dinner. It was horrendous. One of the worst restaurants I've ever been to. And then we top it off by going to see this movie, and it's a train wreck, top to bottom. Hugh Jackman's good in it. I thought all the other actors were terrible. I thought the editing was nonsensical. There's no characterization to anybody except for Zac Efron and Zendaya's characters, but that's so quickly glossed over. It doesn't matter. I hated the songs. I hated that movie.
It seemed really shallow, didn't it?
Yeah.
There was no depth to that movie. There's
none. It was so frustrating.
It was all super glossy, but no depth. I do think that Zendaya, she absolutely looked beautiful in that movie.
Oh yeah, totally.
The best she's ever looked was in that movie. She's elegant. Um, what do you think about Zendaya? I think that she'll have a chance to break out. I mean, it's
I haven't seen her acclaimed HBO show. I want to say it's called Euphoria. Somebody correct me if that's wrong. Um, apparently that show is amazing, from what I've heard, but I haven't seen it. So outside of that, I've only seen her in a handful of things. She was in Greatest Showman. She's in the Spider-Man movies.
uh,
Those are, and then there's
can't really,
one other thing kind of recently I remember seeing her in, but I can't remember what it was, which means it wasn't that memorable, obviously. Um, I've liked her in everything I've seen. It's just, it feels like she's
you really
kind
can't
of
get a
always
depth.
playing the same character.
Yeah, you can't really get an idea of exactly how good she is because she's doing such commercial pieces. I mean, Spider-Man. I mean, okay, yeah, it's fun and everything, but it doesn't indicate how good of an actor you really are.
Exactly. Like I think the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies, I haven't seen the new one, so are really fantastic and terrific fun. They don't ask much acting wise. It's a lot of
No.
action, and that's not a problem. That's what
Oh,
they're meant to be. So I agree with that.
Interweb Kaiju, our friend Casey mentioned that she's in Dune, the brand new Dune movie. She's in that too. That'll probably be a good gauge. That's
Oh
it.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
probably what I was thinking of when I couldn't remember.
I
Dune was fine,
hope
totally fine.
yeah, hopefully she'll get a. I mean, a movie like that is so hugely cast. You know, it's like it's going to be hard to actually stand out in it.
The
Uh,
only person to stand out, in my opinion, was Jason Momoa. He's fun in a way nobody else gets to be, but everybody did good to better than I expected. So that's something.
Hi, loves. How are you? And hi, Katie. Katie's one of Katie and Ocean Girl films are two of the three ladies of the final ladies of horror.
Oh,
Uh,
nice.
yeah,
Hi,
they're
how
the
are you
ones that
guys?
yeah they're the ones that reviewed Wookie Shark today. Good to
Nice.
see Wookie Shark get a breath of fresh air.
Such a
Um,
weird little movie.
oh, oh, you did see it. I was going to ask you, do you guys actually because I always consider Film Threat a serious magazine. Like, you know, like
Oh, you
when
should.
you roll out the big movies, you know, that type of movies, you know, like I can't see you reviewing Ouija Shark, but
Oh
do you
yeah,
guys?
no, totally have. 2018 or 2019, I don't quite remember. All of October, the only stuff I reviewed were new clown-based films. So there was the Asylum movie Clown. There was Big Circus Evil. No, Big Top Evil. There was Giggles the Clown. There was, oh, what was that found footage one that was amazing?
I I,
I
I
don't know off the
can't
top of my head.
probably.
If I can remember what it was called, I will let you know. But it was a found footage film about a bunch of clown sightings, um, and it takes place in like Philadelphia, and it's insane. I love the ending of that movie so much. A bunch of clown movies. We focus on independent films. We do the bigger stuff on occasion. Like we're one of our writers is reviewing the first two Kingsman films, Secret Service and Golden Circle.
The Golden Circle.
Yeah, in preparation for the new one coming out, whatever day that comes out. I can't be bothered to remember that because I don't care. Um, so we do the bigger movies as well, but 98% of what we're looking at is independent films, shorts, feature length, animated, live action, comedy, action, drama, documentary, doesn't matter.
Our friend Tiffany Loves T-shirts is here. Hi, Tiffany. How are you? And Tiffany says, she says that she fears nothing except for death and eternal damnation. Okay.
That's quite a ways to start.
Yeah, that's a good list. You know,
I'm
good
not
start.
sure. I think it depends on who's damning me, to be honest, but I could fear that as well, I suppose.
Yeah, yeah. Glad you guys are here. Feel free to share us out if you'd like to. We're talking to film critic and journalist Bobby LePire from Film Threat Magazine. So let's circle back. We'll have plenty of time to talk about the current status of films, and but I want to go back to where you got your start at. I mean, when you were first growing up, I mean, what
Where I got my start, you mean how I started reviewing movies or how I
yeah.
fell in love with movies? Those are two
Let's
different
go with
things.
how you fell in love with movies because that probably came first.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's sort of in my blood. I was born in Los Angeles. Um, so, right there on the edge of Hollywood. And then from a very young age, I was 7 or 8. My family started moving overseas. We went to Accra, Ghana. We were there for several years. Went to Bonn, Germany. We were there for several years, and then to Seoul, South Korea, and we're there for 1 year. And in preparation for the first move to the Gold Coast of Africa, there we recorded a lot of movies off of TV. We bought a lot of VHS, which was at the time DVDs weren't in
Crazy.
existence. And we kind of the Americana we took with us wasn't really it was movies really, and then discovered that even in places like Accra and Bonn and well, Seoul kind of makes sense. I was just too young to know that at the time. They all have their own independent movie things. Like there is a film from Ghana. It's called Stepdad. As far as I remember, it is not a remake of The Stepfather, but I could be wrong on that. It is. I am 37 now. I was like 7 or 8 when I moved there. So, and really, that was my first taste of independent film was overseas. And I became fascinated with it, especially living in Germany. And then Korea really kind of solidified it for me. There was a movie theater right next to, well, not right next to the school, but very close to the school.
Now, when you were in
Um,
Germany, did you watch a lot of German cinema? Was there a lot of German in-house productions there, or were they just American movies that were coming over, making
um,
their debuts?
so it was a giant apartment complex I lived in. Right across the street from that was a park and the little commissary PX area. Attached to that was a theater that anybody could go to, but ostensibly it was there for the armed forces from the U.S. And that would show movies from the States. But in town, I mean, Bonn at the time was the capital of Germany. There were theaters showing homegrown, if you will, titles made in Germany or at least parts of Europe. So it was a balance between the two. I mean, I was still a kid, so I didn't always have a say in what I'd go see.
Right.
And there was nothing too out there. Again, I was a kid. But yeah, we saw some foreign language movies that way. In Korea, I was becoming a teen and had much more freedom in deciding what I would go see, when, where, how, that kind of thing. So
Let's see, Peacock. Come on. Oh, there you go.
I know you're so barky, little one. Here's the Shiloh.
There's the silo.
She's ridiculous. She was just eating, so she should be very happy at the moment. But now she's knocking my earbuds out of my ears by sitting on the
Oh,
cord. Hi.
man, Shiloh looks beautiful. Always beautiful.
Thank you. It's
Yeah,
all
you were
her love.
doing your reviews with Shiloh before I was doing mine with as far as on camera goes.
Yeah, she
Mine with the
likes being the sole center of attention. So if we're doing anything else, like if my computer's on my lap and I'm typing away, I have to move it for her to get some pets and stuff. She'll just
yeah,
stare you down otherwise.
yeah. Paladin's like that too. He'll come in there and cast shark me until I acknowledge him, and then he's like Like, I'm here, I'm here, I'm here. I was like, yes, yes, yes. Um, I mentioned the European movies is because, as you know now, you being a critic and a journalist, um, isn't it sort of shocking to see how little original films that Europe does now? I mean, it used to be massively busy and put out, creative stars and directors and whatnot, but it's not that way anymore. The film industries in a lot of those countries have just dried up and gone away.
I think it depends on what you're looking for. If you're focusing on the big tentpole releases, you know, a lot of those movies aren't getting distribution here the way they used to. So, like, I want to say it's Raging Sky. Was this massive, high-grossing Chinese disaster film. Sorry, the cat jumped off me. And it was one of the biggest hits in China the year it came out. It didn't get a theatrical release here. And then there are all the Journey into the West movies that,
You're talking about China. Yeah, the Chinese cinema is healthy.
that
European cinema is not.
Well, I'm going to get to a point here. So all the Journey to the West stuff, they start Stephen Chow. Stephen Chow is arguably one of the most known actors from that time, for filmmakers from that country. And if they get a release here, it's very limited. So if you're looking for something from France, Germany, or Spain, you're probably going to be looking for something that's more independent, and it'll probably take a while to get here from there, because the smaller budget stuff don't always have a speedy way of doing subtitles or being dubbed or finding proper distribution to get a stranglehold here in the States. I know from working at Film Threat, those movies want that kind of thing, because the wider audience worldwide they get, the better chance they have of either making money or getting a better distribution deal for their next project, or whatever it is they're looking for in that regard. So it exists, but it exists in a less obvious way, where they're no longer making stars. They're just sort of making things for themselves. And if somebody happens to pick it up, they happen to pick it up.
Because I've interviewed filmmakers from the UK, Ireland, and from the Netherlands, and in Italy. And the one that really got me was Italy, where I was talking to Iva Lycos, and her husband Carlos Fuco. They make movies, and they say it is extremely hard to get a movie made in Italy. The Thijs Muse from the Netherlands, he directed a movie called Molly, and he says that
I love Molly.
You and I both.
That movie is
That's actually my second favorite movie I've ever reviewed.
Nice.
Yes. I absolutely love. He's an awesome guy to talk to. I'm going to be talking to Kalinda Bongers in the next year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, I've been friends with them for a while since it came out. That's one thing I have to say real quick about social media. Back in the day when we saw movies like this, we had absolutely zero chance in hell of talking to any of these filmmakers or actors. Not a prayer. Now through social media, it is a lot easier to do that. And that I've made many networking and connections through these filmmakers, and it gives me a chance to talk. Gives us a chance to talk to them, and I find it so refreshing. And that's actually one really good part about social media I do like. Because after I saw Molly, I reached out and talked to both these and Kalinda on Twitter. So it's just like, oh, that was easy. Would you guys like to do? Would you like to do an interview? Nice. It took me a while to get to Theus, because but I had him do a guest. Him and I did a guest piece on the 13th Warrior,
the Antonio Banderas movie.
Yes, we both love that movie.
I like most of that movie.
That movie. I know. It's so unfair that movie gets criticized as sharp as it
totally.
is.
I
That
think
movie
the early on he's just with them and he learns their language, and I think the way they do that in the movie is perfect.
yes.
It's so clever.
Yes, I thought so too. I thought it was definitely one of the highlights. That movie just got, I don't know, it just got it got so unfairly dumped on, and it's like I don't understand that because it's like it's a total classic action adventure film.
Totally
You
agree.
know,
Yeah.
I'm just like, wow. I mean, they had great villains, fantastic villains, great set pieces. Um, I kept on, after the movie was over, I kept on looking for, like I thought, well, we're going to see these guys again. Such a great cast. Do you know it took me years before I spotted any of the actors who played the Vikings on another movie.
Interesting. What movie was it, if you remember?
He did a voiceover for a Christmas movie.
Oh.
I actually reviewed it because he was in it.
Oh, nice.
And it was just like none of them ever, you never saw any of them again. And it was just like, wow, that's just crazy.
I agree. Speaking of
But
Christmas movies, real quick, going back to your point about European cinema, I just reviewed a movie from Scotland, directed by Ryan Hendrick, who made the short film Sundown, which is beautiful and amazing. It's called Lost at Christmas. It is delightful. I believe it's on Amazon Prime. I'll have to double check that, but it's on one of the streaming services now. It is delightful.
I do think that streaming service. Okay, we're getting way off topic here. Let's go. I knew this was going to happen, because we're just love film so much. Okay, so we know that you now we know that you found you love film and you're down in South Korea. Let me get this back on track a little bit. Now we know that you love Korea. What were some of the first movies that you watched that really stayed with you?
For the longest time, my favorite movie of all time was The Dark Crystal, and I kind of grew up watching that one. I love the world. I could reach out and touch it. It existed more so than any other movie I had seen when I was that young. The Dark Crystal took place in a tangible, real world. It captivated me. I probably saw that movie 1,000 times, starting when I was like 5 until now. It's great. Big fan of all 3 original Indiana Jones movies. My love of action adventure films, it's my favorite genre, probably stems from my love of those. And what else? Let me think.
Casey's mentioning Trial by Stone.
Ha! Nice. Nice. So those definitely off the top of my head. Probably some other stuff that was most kids' favorites, like a Disney movie or 2 and stuff like that. But yeah.
Now, how old were you when you first started writing? I mean, did you write just to write, or did you keep a journal, or did you write stories, or
In terms of just writing, generally speaking, and not specifically movie reviews, I was very young. In Germany, I wrote a few short stories. One of them was called Captain Panther's Diary or Log or something like that. Journal. I think it was journal is the word I used there. And it was a tiny short space opera, basically. Captain Panther, he's a panther and he's the captain of a starship, and his mates are all various other animals like jaguars and leopards and tigers, and they crash land on a planet. And it's about them trying to get off this planet they crash landed on, and it has like living plants that want to kill them. God, I haven't thought about that in years.
Now, did Captain Panther ever run across the legendary Perry Roden?
Sorry, the legendary
Perry Roden?
I don't know what that is.
Oh my gosh, he lives in Germany. Don't know about Perry Roden? Oh my gosh, he's huge. And Perry Roden is like it's like their Star Trek and Star Wars to combined. They've had well over 1,000 books written.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Missed that one. I am a big fan of Asterix and Tintin and Moomin and things that really never broke out beyond Europe in most cases. But yeah, that one, I don't know.
Yeah, Google it and be prepared to be amazed.
All
They
right.
tried to bring him over in America. They did it. They ran the first 120 books through Ace Publishing, and initially it went really well. But I mean, it was just so massive. I mean, they
Yeah, I
were
gotcha.
in. I still think they recycle them over here, but they're still publishing them there. Perry
Wow.
Rhodan's still massively popular in Germany.
Cool.
Uh, um, yeah, I was wondering when you started mentioning Captain Panther. I'm like, wow, he must have read some Perry Rhodan. Um,
No,
oh, that's awesome though,
really.
Captain Panther.
Uh, did grow up on original Doctor Who. The BBC played that Saturday mornings after Saturday morning cartoons. So I did grow up on original Doctor Who.
Who's your
Uh,
favorite Doctor?
Tennant. Tennant's just an amazing doctor. He understands the character in a way I don't think any of the other actors have. But then followed by Baker.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Yeah,
my favorite. I
yeah,
grew up with him.
Baker's great. To get back on track, so then moving back to this country, I took a creative writing course and a journalism course in high school, and I loved both dearly. So writing was just always something I gravitated towards. The creative writing one, especially, my year-end project was over 100 pages. The following year after I graduated, that teacher then instituted a limit of 30 pages. That's how long it couldn't be longer than that anymore.
Okay.
So that was because of me. I apologize to all you Chancellor people who suffered. So yeah, I was kind of always writing, and then I always loved movies. Probably because we took them everywhere and everybody understood them. You know, if I didn't understand the language barrier, but I said Indiana Jones or Luke Skywalker or Mickey Mouse, uh, people in other countries knew what I was talking about. Movies became a way of talking to people I couldn't actually talk to. Um, and so eventually I decided to start doing a few mini reviews and stuff. This led to me writing a column for joblo.com. They used to take user submitted unpopular opinion columns. I don't know if they still do that. I haven't read them in years. And I wrote one for Bridesmaids because I hate that movie a lot. And so that got some fun feedback from everybody. Some people agreed with me. Some thought I was being too harsh. Some hated what I wrote about it. And that really is where my like reviewing started, was from there. I started creating my own website, and then I started doing some YouTube stuff, and that's where you discovered me. Then in 2017, my wife and I went to our first Dragon Con in Atlanta, Georgia.
Yeah, I remember.
That is where this lovely shirt I'm wearing comes from. It is part of the Cult of the Marriott Carpet from Dragon Con. If you don't know it, look into it. It is delightful and tacky, and I love every second of it. Dragon Con is my favorite thing on the planet that isn't my wife or my cat. I love Dragon Con. It feels like home. And
Yeah, you've always loved that.
always
I
have,
remember
yes.
always every time it was coming up, you get super psyched about it.
Yeah, I love Dragon Con. So at my first one, I met a whole bunch of people. I met like Catherine Dean and Patrick Muldoon and Jules Satay. I got to meet Chris Gore. Chris Gore is the founder of Film 3. He founded it in college in the 80s. And it was a very, very popular magazine for a long time. And then eventually, rights issues are complicated. I'll shorten that story to that. And then he was on a Attack of the Show on G4 for a long time.
Yep.
And he had a movie show on Reels channel or IFC channel. I forget which one, but one of the two, called New Movie Show. And that's what I know him from. That started in like 2006 or 2007. And I loved the rating scale on that movie, in that show, because that's what stayed with me. And it was from best to worst. It was see it in theaters, rent it, watch it on TV, uh, have it on in the background at a party, skip it all together. That ranking system was fantastic. I loved it. And he reviewed movies like, The In Crowd and stuff, which should give you a more concrete date of when the show started. I loved that. So I didn't really know Film Threat at the time, but he was there. He was the only panel he was doing that fit into everything else I crammed in my first year of Dragon Con. Was at 9 at night. Go to this panel. It's called The State of Geek Cinema. And he's talking about the MCU. He's talking about DC movies. He's talking about sci-fi more generally speaking, all your nerdy stuff. It was really good. Afterwards, I had a book of his he signed. We got a picture together. Whoops. And then we just kept talking. It was myself, another fan, and Chris. And we talked for like 2 or 3 hours. Eventually, him relaunching Film Threat as a website got brought up. Needing people to write for it got brought up. So I get home. Then there was a hurricane scare, so I didn't immediately do this. But as soon as I could, after getting home, send him some of my other reviews, send him some of my YouTube videos, got hired, and eventually worked my way up to being writer, editor, and that kind of thing. And
I'm sure it was the YouTube video that got you the hook. Your YouTube videos were just amazing.
Hilarious. You'll have to ask him. I don't know what the deciding factor was, to be honest.
He actually liked the fact that I was having you on here. He came by my Instagram and liked it.
Oh, word.
Yeah, I got that.
Yeah.
Casey's mentioning that he's looking forward to Chris's Attack of the Doc.
Yes. Chris Gore is working on a documentary about Attack of the Show. It's called Attack of the Doc. And that's going to be a lot of fun.
I thought G4 was coming back.
What was that?
I thought G4 was coming back.
It is. But G4 is coming back. I'm unclear if Attack of the Show, which was simply a show on G4, is coming back. But even then, it would be different. It wouldn't necessarily be the same people who created it or the same hosts or anything like that. So I think it'll be a lot of fun. And for anybody out there watching this who's on Second Life, Film Threat has teamed up with them and does special events just for people in Second Life now. And those have been very popular.
What is Second Life?
Second Life is a computer game that I guess the easiest way, the most simplistic way to describe it is like The Sims, but way more in-depth and personalized.
Okay.
I think that's the best way to describe it.
Casey mentioned G4 and Attack of the Show are back, but very different. Where's G4 being shown on? Is that being shown on Peacock? I mean, that's probably the only thing I could think of.
Well, Paramount Plus is a thing, right?
Yes. Oh, okay. I thought, yeah, because I thought NBC Universal owned G4.
I don't know.
Hey, John, how are you? Our friend John from Doomsday Crypt is in the house.
John, what's up?
Let's see, YouTube, Twitch, and linear Comcast. Yeah, I thought it was NBC. Yeah.
So yeah. Okay, cool.
Okay. So what was the first review that you? I mean, obviously you saw. I guess it would be. I mean, what was the first film? The first film review you submitted to Film Threat?
Like as a writer for them?
Yeah.
It was so they put you on a trial by, like, yeah, we'll try you out, make sure you can follow the rules kind of thing. And within that, it was a movie called A Brilliant Monster. It's the one review I wish I could go back and rewrite. I probably can, actually, but I haven't and should. I stand by everything I say in the review. I stand by my rating of the review. I just think I didn't make my points very clear in it. And I had a talk with the director of that film, on the phone. He called me, and it was a lovely, lovely talk. It was great. Lasted like 45 minutes. And he kind of explained his thought process on the movie. I kind of explained more of where I was coming from, which I don't, upon rereading the review after that talk, I don't think it came through properly. But that was my first one, and it's the worst one I've written for them, I think. Just in terms of everything. Like structure wise, it's awkward. Again, it's not very clear why I have a certain problem with this, but really like that part of the movie and stuff like that. If anybody's seen the movie, overall, I think it's just okay. It's not great. I wanted to love it. It just never quite gets there for a few reasons that I explained in the review. But yeah, that was my first one.
You mentioned right now about the rules. What kind of rules did you have to follow for a film threat?
Oh, so you have to structure it in a certain way, like the title of the movie, any movie, is bold and italicized. TV shows are just italicized, stuff like that, where like even though we all have different writing styles and we don't really try to change that up, we need to make sure it all comes from the same place. So what film threat controls is how you format specific sections. So if you're reading FilmWire, let's say, maybe all of the titles they do are only italicized, or maybe they're underlined. For film threat, it's bold and italicized, so that's the title. And then with some exceptions, when we're introducing a character in the movie, like Dune got mentioned earlier with Zendaya. So if I was writing a review of Dune, I would say Duke Atreides, and then parentheses, the actor who plays that person, his name would be in that parentheses. And then that parentheses would end, and we'd carry on with the thing. So by rules, I mean that sort of thing. So it's all standard. So even if your writing style is different than that writer's, everybody knows it's from Film Threat because that's how they do things there, if that makes sense.
So it's like your brand.
Yeah, kind of. In terms of the specific writing style, we don't try to change the voice of the person writing, but we do need to make sure that those things are being followed. So it's not confusing to people, if that makes sense.
You don't control how they as far as what they write though, right? I mean, when you write your reviews or your edit or you look over somebody else's reviews, they can cut loose however they want to, right?
Yeah, 99% of the time. Sometimes what they're saying is repetitive. So it's like, okay, in the above sentence, I said this, this, and this. Well, you just said that in the above sentence. So I don't need you going in the above sentence. That can go away. Other times, it's spoilery. They will spoil the ending of a movie, and we try not to do that.
Right.
Sometimes it can't be helped. So then we'll throw in a spoiler alert to make sure that people know this is about to happen. And other times the spoiler comes out entirely, so long as it doesn't affect the rest of the work.
I mean, the biggest thing I think in the world of film journalists, and and this is the case. You got people like yourself that are professional, that that can write, that can get over their ideas clearly and precisely. And then you got a ham and egger like myself, who is not trained, who didn't.
Ham and egger? I don't know what this phrase means, sir.
Ham and egger means just the average Joe.
Gotcha. Did you make that up just to confuse me? Because it sounds like you made it up just to confuse me.
No, no. I know it just means someone you met off the street. I
accuse my wife of making up phrases all the time. Don't worry.
Yeah. I mean, like myself, who's not trained. I didn't go to college, and I didn't take any journalism classes or anything else. That I just write basically what I feel. Like This is how I felt about the movie. This is what I liked, what I didn't like, and I'm not, I'm not a professional. I'm just someone who loves loves the medium, and and then as far as writing it, and then you got those who are doing the video reviews, and those are hard. Video reviews are hard. Written reviews are easy for me. I don't know why that is, because you would think it'd be the opposite.
No,
It's
so much
easy
work
to
goes
be.
into editing and all that jazz. It's video reviews are much harder than the written reviews. But one, I would argue you are a professional. This might only be a side job for you, but you're constantly at it all the time. You're interviewing people and being in touch with the indie film community all the time. Um, I would argue strongly you are a professional. Um, I think the only way one can be a real amateur, if that's the right term, at this is if they're doing it because they think they should be, not because they want to be. Um,
Yeah, I just felt like, when I first started writing. I mean, the movie that what do you like best about reviewing for Film Thread? I mean, is it the fact that you're reviewing smaller films, independent films, films
the
that
fact I'm talking about
that
movies, the same reason I like being on your show, the same reason I loved reading your written reviews on the Inner Circle. Um, I love talking about movies. When I worked at a movie theater starting in 2003, just after high school, uh, my friends and I who worked there, after we clocked off, if it was late enough to where there wasn't another movie starting and we wouldn't go watch it, or we weren't going to dinner or whatever, we would hang around and just talk about movies. Talking about movies is fun. Whether you're talking about uh, good movies, bad movies, or debating a movie like I don't like Bridesmaids. Hypothetically, I don't know if you do, but for the sake of this, let's say you do. And we were having a debate about that. That's still fun as long as we're not being jerks to each other, you know?
right?
So I like that I get to do that in a space that is recognized by independent filmmakers and artists and actors and all those people as being fair, and people are excited when they see it. One of the things we do Monday through Fridays on our chat service for Film Threat is the accolades. And we'll post when a filmmaker, an actor, somebody has a really positive response to a review one of us wrote. And what a lot of the times they're ecstatic that they're just there on film. Oh my God, I grew up reading Film Threat. I'm so happy they understood my movie. Things like that happen a lot. And that's a cool feeling.
It is.
You had Augie Duke on here a few weeks back, and she was really excited and happy that you knew about her work and her life, and people were chiming in the chats about other titles and other projects she had been in, and that sort of reaction from people in the industry. This job doesn't pay really.
No, I
Um,
don't get
it,
anything.
it doesn't pay. But why would I keep doing this? It's because the people who are trying to make a living at it, making interesting work, or work that's just at least original, even if it's not necessarily 100% successful, their reactions to us knowing it, understanding it, liking it, sharing it with people we want to see experience that title, is really what keeps you going. So
Yeah, I was surprised when you said that you've only done 3 or 4 interviews, because I just thought, going like, wow, he should be doing, I'm sure he's already done several interviews, for Film
I
Threat.
definitely did lie, because I did just 3 interviews this year, but it was all for the same thing. Um, I live in Connecticut, and not too far from the city I live in is a independent studio called Elmwood Productions. They make shorts, they do some series. They've done a feature-length film called Head. Um, Head had its 5-year anniversary last year in 2020. The problem with that is it was 2020. We all know what went down then. So they celebrated that 1 year later, this year in October, as part of the studio's overall 20th anniversary, not just that one movie's. And for that, leading up to the showing of Head, I reviewed some of their shorts, did a review of Head that went up the day the special 5th anniversary screening was happening. And I interviewed some of the main people behind it, including the founder, some of the puppeteers, some director, some of the people who's directed some of the stuff for it. So I did those 3 interviews just this year. But really, I interviewed Lou Ferrigno as part of Film Threat at my second Dragon Con. And I was in person, and I think, don't get me wrong, Lou Ferrigno was lovely and nice, and he was fantastic, but I'm the one who messed that interview up badly. There was there were 2 other reporters in the room. I could barely get anything out because they just kept going back and forth. So I really didn't get to, I think I only asked 2 questions the entire time, and we were there for like 30 or 40 minutes. So yeah, that really hurt. And then I was gonna interview somebody else, Tara Strong, the voice actress, but that ended up falling through. So then I just kind of avoided interviews for a long time. Then I did one because somebody asked me to. My first interview I was asked to do by the filmmaker. So I did that one. And then I did another one over the phone. That lasted so long, I have not had time to describe it. It was a over 3-hour conversation with this person.
Yeah, transcriptions are always, that's what always told me back before. It's like, as far as written interviews go, like I was, that's the reason why I did written interviews. I didn't do transcription one because I didn't know anybody who could just transcribe, and I didn't want to pay for anything to do it.
So I do need to get that transcribed because I'm actually really proud of that interview. It was for the director of this puppet horror comedy. Lots of puppets in my life, as you can tell, called Frankenzed, which is simply spectacular. It premiered at Night Scream in 2020, and it's just fantastic. It's this crazy gothic horror film, all done with puppets. It is just gorgeous to look at.
Okay, like you mentioned this because it seems like there's a lot of amateur reviewers, that people who think they can review, and YouTube is full of them, and a lot of them are just pandering. A lot of them are, they always go after the biggest, and like I that's one of the things that right off the bat I knew my style of review was going to be all independent, retro, whatnot. I mean, if you look at the inner circle, all my reviews, I think I have never done a current blockbuster. Never. That's one of the rules I had, was like, I'm not going to write about Star Wars because everybody else does. Everybody else does this. All Marvel movies. I'm not going to write about Marvel movies. Even though I grew up a fanboy, even though I grew up collecting comics, I didn't want to be caught up in the wash. There's just no way in hell. I mean, you go to the movie database, you go there, and you type up Superman or the Avengers, and there's 500 reviews. Totally. How the hell do you stand out from that, right? But you write a review about like a faith-based movie, and you put it up there, and it's you. It's just nothing but you. You're the only one that's written a review. That's the only one that cared enough to do so. Cool. What is the biggest? I guess, what is the biggest problem that do you have problems with people who self-style critics? I mean, what's their biggest weakness to you? I mean, what's the one consistency thing they do that marks a future?
So for the non-film threat people and critics I follow who do reviews, be it on YouTube or their website or however they get their content out there, Um, I I follow them because I like their style, obviously. So really, if there's somebody out there who would bother me in a way you're describing, I've probably only watched one of their videos. I was like, no, that's not for me. I moved on. As I mentioned earlier, I think the thing that will stop you no matter what is if you're insincere. Um, it doesn't matter if somebody agrees with you or not. Um, say what's on your mind, speak truthfully as to why something did or didn't work. Like earlier today on Facebook, for a page for a podcast that it's my favorite podcast of all podcasts. It's called Reels of Justice, and what they do is movie court. They put movies on trial, and there's a defender and there's a prosecutor. The defense has to defend this movie up as being a good movie. The prosecutor's obviously going before the judge and stating it's a bad movie. There's a judge, there's a jury. They've had fantastic guests on there. I've been on there a few times. My fellow film threat colleague Lori has been on there a few times. But they've had people from Mystery Science Theater on there. They've had authors. They've had some really fantastic, very intelligent guests. And what's so much fun about it is how, whether you're the prosecutor, the defense, or everything, you're always bringing your passion. So if you hate a movie and you're the prosecutor, that passion's going to come through. And the person defending the movie, hopefully, presumably, they should, loves that movie as much as the person prosecuting it hates it. And that comes through so well in it. And I just love the idea of movie court. Just that tickles me pink. And so if you're not being sincere, then people are going to be able to tell, is what I'm getting at with this. So if you're just chiming in and stating what every other critic is stating because you're scared of being the person who disagrees with every other critic, then it's going to be a bad review. You're not going to enjoy your time doing that review, and your audience isn't going to connect because what you're saying isn't authentic to what you're doing. There's a YouTuber I do follow named Perry. I'm going to get her last name wrong, but Nimioff, something like that. She's great. She keeps her content usually between 8 and 15 minutes. She's so much fun. And she always prefaces it, these are my opinions, yada, yada. And then she'll just go off. And it's usually structured as what does and doesn't work in that order. So you get a fair balance of what she enjoys about any particular thing. And comes off as very sincere and knowledgeable about movies. That's the fun part of watching that sort of thing. But if you're watching somebody like, this isn't exactly apples to apples comparisons, like Nostalgia Critic, who's just taking down a movie to take down a movie, whether they actually end up liking it or not, it gets a little grating at times.
Yeah, like Cinema Sins, I think it's what it's Cinema Massacre or something like that.
Angry Video Game Nerd. Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, they just come across as just pandering for views, pandering for the attention. I can't really take that seriously.
Exactly.
I'm with you about the devil's advocate too. I mean, it's like I know there's people in the community that I see their reviews. Everybody will be universally like not like a movie, but there'll be that person to want to like it because they want to crave the attention, even though it doesn't ring true. You say it, they say it, and there's no passion behind their drive, but there is a look at me, I'm different. I'm edgy, I'm different. I like this movie.
I thought of one actually. I thought while we were talking just now. Sorry to cut you off. I thought of a film critic I think is terrible and should never write again. His name is Armand White. He's the least sincere, stupidest film critic possibly in all of history. His reviews are full of contradictions, possibly on purpose just to get a rise out of people. I don't know. If you just Google him and you will he's very controversial in all the worst ways. Nothing he's ever written is sincere. It doesn't come off as sincere. It doesn't feel sincere, and people get mad about it because his reviews are largely, he'll praise something that most people hate and then hate something most people love. And that's not the problem. The problem is the way he goes about doing it, because it feels like he's doing it just to be contrarian to the mainstream. And you can tell that's not genuine. And that lack of sincereness is what pisses people off about his reviews.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, you're right. You know what? I'm gonna come in here and say this because since you're here and you're gonna be part of history here. So Katie just mentioned to us, popping the popcorn. Y'all hear it first. The Final Girls of Horror will be doing a new live stream once a month on Thursdays, starting in January.
Ooh, very exciting.
I am too, Bobby. Because I love passionate reviewers. Casey does reviews. Interweb Kaiju, he does it in a really good way. I really enjoy his style of reviewing. Katie's in there. She reviews films as well. I find it to be. Myself. I do the voice reviews. I just struggle like hell. Oh, I don't know what it is, but I struggle like hell when I do reviews on video reviews. But has there ever been a movie that have you ever gotten physically angry at a movie?
Oh yeah, all the time. Anything directed by Gareth Edwards pisses me off because that man is the worst filmmaker alive, worse than anything Uwe Boll ever made. I know it's Uwe, but that man doesn't deserve my respect. Gareth Edwards did Monsters. He did Rogue One, A Star Wars Story, and that god-awful Godzilla film from like 2014 or 15 or whatever year that came out. All three are some of the worst things I've ever seen, cinematically speaking. They're annoying. They're badly filmed. They're poorly shot. They have awful characterizations. I am convinced that he's never interacted with actual human beings before. And I hate him so much. Back when I was running my own website, excuse me, Terribly Fun Films, in as many reviews as I could, I would somehow make a dig at this man to the point where my wife got very concerned and was afraid that one day, if I were ever to meet him, he would throw acid in my face. My response to that was good. And she was like, "What do you mean good? You'll have a burnt face." To which I said, "No, you said he would throw acid at me. You didn't say it would hit me." And I presume he's as bad as throwing acid as everything else. And then he would go to jail and never make a movie again. So I'm a little sad I no longer run that site. I was doing that at the same time as doing the YouTube stuff. And once I started with film, I just don't have time to do either one anymore.
I really miss you. I miss your YouTube channel.
Sorry, what was that?
I miss your YouTube channel so much.
Thank you. So I'm a little sad that I gave that up because I kind of want him to try throwing acid in my face just so he can get arrested and never make movies again. The man's a hack.
I've only been physically angry just a couple of times. I didn't know if that was actually a thing. I felt sort of weird. Like I feel sort of weird. Like getting on here and just going to town on somebody. My idea is when I do a review is no matter how bad the movie is, I try to find a silver lining in it. I mean, every movie has at least one. I mean, it has to have at least one little silver lining in it.
You would think, but not every movie does.
No.
What was that in 2016? Was it? Help me here. 2017, you asked me for my worst films I had seen that year, not the worst movies of that year, but the worst things I had seen that year. And we both have been the same #1 pick, #horror.
Yes. Oh,
remember that?
Oh, that triggers me because I hated that film. I hated that filmmaker so much.
Yeah. That movie has nothing redeeming about it.
There's zero redeem. I mean, there's zero.
Yeah,
It,
that's
it,
my whole point.
oh, I mean, I got I was really shocked, Bobby, because I mean, and I'm sure Casey and Katie and John, it's shocking to sit there and watch a movie to where you're physically angry at it. Like you're sitting there like watching it, and you're just like, what the,
It
and the thing is,
happens.
though, it's like you're just angry about it. You're
Yeah,
just like, what the fuck were you thinking about when you put this on, on camera? It's like it's ridiculous, and it's not a simple thing. It's just oh, I hate this movie. I'm not liking this movie. I'll just turn it off. I'm sitting there watching it all the way through, and I'm just like, the more I'm watching it, the more angry I'm getting. And I'm like, I'm shocked at that emotion, which I think is one of the reasons why you follow all the way through, because I think as a film, watcher, even a casual one, and you find yourself sitting there looking at that, going like, you know what, this is pissing me off. It's not that I could just get up and turn off the walk out of the other room or walk out of the theater or anything else like that. You want to sit there and go like, what? Why is this movie making me so angry? It's only happened a couple of times for me, as far as in reviewing. I mean, like, okay, maybe more, because I can't. There's just movies. I make fun of Brett Kelly, but that guy, he's a hack. He's been a hack since day one. There's Mark Polonia. I mean, some of these low budget directors. I mean, Mark Polonia.
the
I'm
Polonia
just
brothers I like more than Brett Kelly. The Polonia brothers have more imagination, and they're trying to do so much more. They still
they
have very low budgets, but they're at least trying. Like
God, I just
Shark
can't.
Encounters of the Third Kind is hysterical.
Lord.
It has no budget. It's not pretending to have a budget. So I don't think a movie like that can piss me off in the same way hashtag horror does,
No, no, no. Now
or anything like
I
that. You
will
know what I
give
mean?
you. Now that's funny you mentioned it, because that is true. As much as I tease Brett Kelly, and as much as I tease Mark Polonia and Dustin Ferguson, and
I
I
love
at least
Dustin. That man makes me so happy.
that guy is horrible. Oh my God!
Did you watch a Ball and Wax? A
I have
Ball of Wax
filmed.
was
I could
charming.
I could film the cheetah taking a poo in his box and get more entertainment out of that. Um,
I gotta
but
disagree here, especially with Dustin Ferguson. I think the way he edits, especially when COVID hit and he started making those crazy films from people's cell phones and whatnot, I actually thought it was really innovative. Doesn't always
but
work, but he's at least trying. And I could be wrong on this. I believe he made more movies during COVID than anybody else
yeah,
alive.
well, yeah, yeah. Yeah, some of those were ideas off of other people, like
It's true.
uh, Murder Hornets. That was actually came off an idea from Mike Ferguson. I know that because I know Mike. And
Okay, yeah.
but oh, but I will say this though, like I just cannot find myself watching a Dustin Ferguson film.
Oh, I can easily because
I will have to watch. There's one movie I will watch, because I've heard so many people actually do like, and I actually respect. And there's one movie that he did that a lot of people really liked, Robo Woman. I
oh,
mean,
that
to
movie's
me,
fun. Yeah,
yeah, okay, well there
yeah,
you go. Yeah, there's another voice that
yeah.
said fun. But for
Um,
the most part, though, it's like I just
so for me, going into this, in order for a movie to enrage me in the way that we're sort of talking about now, it has to do several things at once. Um, One, what was the budget, right? Because I need to meet a movie
two hundred and
on
sixteen
its own
dollars
terms.
for a week.
Exactly. So
Thank
here's the thing. For a movie like Rogue One or like the Clash of the Titans remake, which I was so mad at after seeing it. We went to Denny's afterwards, and it's like 2 a.m. at this point. And our waiter, and I was in my 20s, so I was at Denny's all the time, so I knew this guy. But the waiter came up to me and said I had to calm down because they didn't have a defibrillator on set. That is how angry the Clash of the Titans remake made me. Because you know what? That was a $200 million, whatever its budget was, tentpole film from a giant studio. That movie has no reason to fail. They they have enough money to ensure what they're putting out is good. The people who made Rogue One had access to enough money to make sure what they were putting out was good. The Polonia brothers, Justin Ferguson, if they have $10,000 to make a movie, that's a large bloody budget for them.
I don't think
That
that.
often,
I don't think Dustin Ferguson's total output, 112 movies he's directed.
Yep.
I don't think if you combine them all together, it would equal $10,000.
No, I don't think so. It's probably accurate, but that's my point. So maybe in a movie like that, maybe in Angry Murder Hornets or 5G Zombies, the special effects are cheesy and the acting is questionable at best.
At
I'm
best.
okay with that because I know that their budget was $5 and that old box of random crap that they had in their closet. I can wrap my head around that. It can meet the movie on that level. And as long as I'm still entertained, I'm good. Now, does that mean every movie that was made for $5 and the random box of crap that was in the attic is good? No, no. And there are some Dustin Ferguson movies that don't entertain me. But for the most part, because he's showing creativity and he's at least trying to be fun, he's not taking himself seriously. His movies don't take themselves seriously. I can kind of get around that. Same thing with the Polonia brothers and all. But something like #horror, which I keep bringing up because I know you hate it as well, it thinks it's important. It thinks it's saying something. And whatever it's trying to say gets lost in that message. And that movie probably cost slightly more than a Dustin Ferguson feature, but it still was a very independent production and stuff. And it's wretched on every level. I reviewed a movie called The Possession Diaries, and in my film threat review of that, I advised the main male actor. So the main character is a female. Her boyfriend is the male lead. I advised that actor to never quit his day job because he's just that bad at acting, where no matter the budget of this movie, they had to have been able to go to their local community theater and find somebody better. There's no getting around that. Because he's that wretched in this film. He's that awful and unconvincing and wooden and awkward. Beyond all of that, though, what really drives me crazy are the filmmakers who try defending their films in really terrible ways. Going back to what you asked about my first review for Film Threat, that was A Brilliant Monster. That director, his name is FC Rabbith, if I'm remembering that properly. He called me on the phone. He set it up. He found me on social media. We set up this talk for a specific time. And he was very courteous and lovely and even agreed with some of the points I made and acknowledged the film wasn't great, but was trying to make me aware of where he was coming from, what the movie was trying to convey, and that sort of thing. It was a great conversation. At the end of the conversation, I felt like I understood that movie better than I had after watching the movie. However, there was a movie I reviewed not too long ago, I believe 2018, it could have been 2019, called Swiped. Swiped is a romantic comedy. I use that term very loosely, about a bunch of college students taking a programming course. They have to make an app. So the boys, our main boys, decide they're going to make a dating app that is male-centric. And it takes off on their college campus and is about the fallout from this. The acting's better than anything else in the movie. The script is terrible. For example, the main character, who's the best programmer out of our out of all the leads, but like our main character, his friend from high school is going to the same thing, and he just didn't realize that. So he sees her, he's running up to her, and she's holding Jane Eyre, of all things, and he's talking to her about the book and how much he also likes Jane Eyre and the authors of their works. And they're acting like nobody's ever read anything by her before. She's not one of the most well-known beloved and respected female authors of all time. Like the person who made it, I forget the filmmaker's name, thinks she's the only one who knows Jane Eyre exists. And it's so awkward and cringy watching that scene play out, because the entire time, like, this isn't some obscure author.
No.
This is one of the most well-known books that's assigned in like 10th grade in American high schools. Most people who have lived in the United States have read that book if they're above a certain age. It was so strange. So I write my review. It's not overly positive. That filmmaker leaves like 10 comments underneath the review, just going crazy that I didn't like the movie. And she's been like, you acknowledge the acting is good, and that means this thing and this thing and this thing. And I'm all like, well, no, I acknowledge the performers performed their poorly written roles well. I bought them as those characters. That doesn't mean I bought what the characters did, why they did them, how they wound up in the situation they were in to begin with, or anything else. Beyond a movie pissing me off, people like that piss me off. I've encountered that a few times at Film Threat, that being the most extreme case.
That's a really good segue, because I've had this discussion before. Like, I have never had anybody come at me on that level. I've had had people compliment me on my review, but I've never had anybody come at me. But I've heard other directors have mentioned that, their movies have come out, and one well-known where there was like 200 people there, and like 2 or 3 people really didn't seem to get the movie, and the director was commenting about how they didn't seem to really get the movie, and it was sort of like a little bit distressing, and I mentioned this as well. I wouldn't focus on those voices. I wouldn't focus on the 3 that didn't like it or didn't get it or didn't understand it. I would focus on the other 197 that did. I don't. It's hard. I mean, it's hard. I mean, because I have heard that there have been directors. There was one director. He didn't come at me, but I know he was very unhappy with my review of his movie. I heard from the distributor that he was not happy, but he didn't come at me. But I mean, how do you tell a director that it's not a personal thing? It's just how I'm feeling. But at the same time, to them, it is personal, because it's their work. They spent the hours and hours and hours and days, making the movie, and it's like, of course, it's personal for me, because I spent so much labor into it. But how do you balance that out? I mean, because you're right. There are some movies that you're just gonna feel that you're gonna feel some emotion for.
It really depends on how they approach it. Going back to the example I just gave of Swiped, I am not the only person she's gone after on YouTube. There's this amazing young Canadian critic, Amanda the Jedi. Everybody should follow her. She's terrific. She also was, I don't know if attack's the right word, accosted, I think maybe better here, accosted by the person who made Swiped. And in Amanda the Jedi's video about her incident with Swiped, she tracked and highlighted other instances of this director attacking every critic who didn't like Swiped. So this particular person who made Swiped just couldn't handle any negative criticism and went after a ton of critics who didn't care for the movie.
Wow.
And in that regard, I didn't respond, because I'm not kidding when I say I'm fairly certain her response to my review was longer than the review itself. I was like, I don't need, that's a different story. In the case of something like A Brilliant Monster, we had a great conversation. I learned something. He learned something, I hope. And I really did understand what he was trying to convey with the movie, something I think the movie didn't actually properly get out on its own. But that was a really strong conversation, and I am more than willing to talk to filmmakers. I reviewed this great little film called Feral something. Oh, give me a second. I gotta look this up because I cannot remember the name of it right now, and that is driving me crazy.
Oh no, Katie, don't worry about it. I mean, that's the beauty thing. That's the beautiful thing about live interviews. You can just go and do something and get a snack or whatever, and come back. We'll still be talking.
Ooh, a snack sounds good right about now.
Yeah, it's just, ooh. To me, see, I look at your level of criticism and journalism as far, you're like a professional, and it's like you get a lot more heat than someone like myself will. Like when I say something, blows, or something's great, it depends on how many people are seeing it. I might get like 10 or 12 people to see it. But when you say it, you're influencing people. Your voice is out there. I can understand why directors panic a little bit more when they see a bad review coming from someone like Film Threat, more so than a YouTube channel guy.
That makes sense.
Even the YouTube channel guy has 30,000 followers or whatever. It's still not the same impact as someone who's writing a review from a respected place like Film Threat or Flickering Myth or Fangoria or stuff like that. I mean, you're looking for. I mean, when someone comes out with their movie, they're not going to be looking at how Cheetah will view to see how their movie's being received. They're going to look at Film Threat to see kind of to get the pulse of how the movie's doing. So your voices carry so much more weight, which is why I can understand why some of these directors they do panic a little bit more. They do get a little bit more concerned or appreciative when you do give a good review. They're sitting there going, "Thank you so much."
Mm-hmm. They totally can't. This is great for the point I was trying to make. I reviewed a movie by David Lieben. If I'm mispronouncing that last name, I deeply apologize. Called A Feral World. After my review went up, he found me on Instagram, direct messaged me, and we talked about the film. And my biggest criticism comes, essentially, there's a time jump from the end to the prologue. Sorry, not prologue, epilogue is what I meant to say there. A time jump. And I didn't buy the amount of time that elapsed in that gap. And given what the movie's about and stuff, it just didn't make sense for the character to wait, one of the characters to wait this long to do something. We had a conversation about it. He went in and changed that time gap to be smaller. So I went in and took out my entire paragraph complaining about that time gap. So some filmmakers are absolutely open to the criticism and learn from it and appreciate what you're saying, and it helps them make better movies.
Mm.
Some people can't handle that whatsoever. And I think it's interesting because no matter what it is, it could be a book, it could be a movie, could be a play, could be an app, somebody's going to dislike it. Even if 99.8% of everybody else loves it, there's going to be a few people out there who just didn't care for whatever that was. And if you can't handle that, then I don't think you should be in a content creating business, no matter what content you are creating.
I asked you this before we went up, and I just want to touch on it a little bit. I heard the term pay to play. I was not aware of this. I know that what it is like, a lot of these filmmakers, especially on the independent level that you and I write about or comment about, they do a lot of fundraising, crowdsourcing, crowdfunding. And it seems lately, I was not aware of this. I've seen a few of those Indiegogo campaigns or Kickstarters, and I know that they offer perks. But I've always seen the perks as being like like if you give like $5, you'll get a little shout out. If you give $20, you'll get the DVD. $30 you get the Blu-ray. Or if you donate $200, you'll get killed on screen. You can come up there and get killed by a horror icon or whatnot. $1,000 will get you a executive producer credit and on IMDb. I've seen that before. I've known about that and everything else. I was not aware of that recently. That some of these campaigns, they are actually selling roles to the people who are donating. They're not really so much donating as they are buying acting roles into these movies. Instead of that, that $200 that where you get killed by an icon, you're paying $200, and now you're being featured in the movie in a role, and that an actor or an actress had auditioned for, and maybe not making a lot of money. Maybe they're making $200 instead of the producer getting $200. Wow, that's a mind blowing idea for independent filmmakers. I mean, I can't even imagine. I can't imagine anybody doing that, but it sounds like it happens a lot more than we realize. Have you ever heard of that term as of yet?
Not until you brought it up with me earlier today. I hadn't. I had seen, hey, $500 and our slasher villain will kill you on screen, and then you just need to scream. And so if it's not the most convincing, who cares? But yeah, this I hadn't heard of. The problem with this is, of course, what if somebody really wants to be an actor and they're just really bad at it? So they pay the whatever price it is, they get this role, and they just stink. If they're bad enough, would you give that money back as a filmmaker, or would you keep it, let them sink your movie, or at least however many scenes they're in, and hope the rest of the film's up to snuff? I think it's a very weird, slippery slope. I could see it working to some degree if it was like you would be guaranteed an audition, and then no matter what, you would be guaranteed at least a cameo. Wouldn't even need to be like a speaking role. It could be a death, or if it's a Western, you're one of the people in the saloon playing cards or whatever. That I could kind of understand. Because then you're still getting something on screen, but you're not necessarily going to be an actor. Because I love movies, I love theater, I love plays. I'm the worst actor I've ever met. I'm terrible at it. I can't do accents. I'm very bad at hiding my own emotions and trying to get into the headspace of somebody else. Like when I'm amazed at actors who can do that so well. Like when you had Augie Duke on there a few weeks ago, we were talking about all her different roles. I don't know how she does it. She was, you guys were mainly talking about Amityville Moon, but we're talking about some other stuff. And she's playing very different roles in some of these things. And I don't know how actors get into these headspaces and change themselves to this, because I've tried and I'm terrible at it. And I don't want a filmmaker who's desperate to get their vision up there on the screen, be it a theater screen, be it a streaming service picks it up, be it a home video release, be saddled with somebody who could potentially sink their vision because they paid X amount of money to be in it. But if they were to simply be definitively given an audition and then given a cameo, I think that would be less of a murky area for me, if that makes sense.
I do too. I think there's something ethically wrong with that. I mean, just because I have $500 in my pocket, I don't necessarily think I should be able to walk up there, and I'm not an actor. I don't think I should be able to go up there, plunk down $500 and be given the role, a main role. Like, okay, you're now the sheriff. Oh, we had already casted this sheriff, but I'm going to call him up and tell him that we're going to recast it. We're going to move him to a different role. A professional, I just think that's just like, that's new to me. I'm just sitting here and I'm hearing about this. And I'm like, holy shit, that's terrible.
It's a slippery slope. Here's the problem. People with money have been doing that just in different ways since film began. I'm going to bring up an infamously bad movie. Everybody here's at least heard of it, I presume, seen it. The Room. Um, the Room's terrible. It's badly acted. It's strangely structured. The editing is awful. The special effects are awful. Plot threads dangle from everywhere. The creator, Tommy Wiseau, just has money. He just has money. Nobody knows where it came from. That entire movie exists because this rich guy really wanted to make his own movie. So is it any different? Yes and no. You see what I'm saying? Like, so I agree that there's a problem with it, but it's also only a new way of getting those same funds from that rich person like Tommy Wiseau, who would be bankrolling something ridiculous anyway. The problem is it's more visible. The problem is maybe there's now a more loss of control on the filmmaker's side, potentially, depending on how they word it, depending on what that specific perk is. So it's also one of those things where if this is the only way a filmmaker can get their vision across, they might be willing to give the secretary of the dean role to this person who paid $500. They're only in it for 10 minutes, and it doesn't matter because that's not what the story is actually about. And that way, they definitively have a way of making their movie. Is that compromise worth everything else? I think is the question. And the answer to that is it depends on you. If you're the filmmaker, you have to answer that for yourself.
Just like you said, I mean, once you start, that could be, once you do it once, you'll find yourself doing it again and more.
Potentially, yeah. I mean, you could always do another Kickstarter or Indiegogo campaign, but those aren't always guaranteed. Like, there was a Kickstarter I just gave to that shut down and then came back. The first time they didn't reach their goal. He took a few months off, kind of brushed up some of his social media skills and his campaign skills, and came back, and it got funded the second time around. But he was lucky enough to where he had the ability and the time to be able to devote to doing more research and getting more in the weeds and running a proper campaign like that. And not everybody has that option.
Right. What are you looking forward to? I mean, I'll let you go with this one before we end up. But give us your top 10 films that you've seen this year and 5 films that we should all avoid at all costs.
Okay. The best film I've seen all year is a Japanese movie called Beyond the Infinite 2 Minutes. I covered it as part of Fantasia Fest in August. And the plot concerns a little cafe owner, and he's closing up shop for the night. He's getting ready to go play a bar with his band, when he discovers in his upstairs apartment, the restaurant's here, his apartment's just above the restaurant, that his computer screen lets him see 2 minutes into the future. He shows his friends, they add another TV. So now, one computer screen, 2 minutes, the TV, another 2 minutes. So that's 4 minutes in the future. They keep adding TVs until I think they see it's like 20 minutes into the future or whatever it is. And it's about that. And it's about how they're seeing themselves do certain things. So they know they have to go do those things. It's hilarious. It's action-packed. It's super sweet. It's very well acted, and it's shot in one take. We are going up and down stairs, through windows, in and out of doors, onto sidewalks in one shot. The movie it's not short. It's not like 10 minutes long. It's an hour and a half. It's an unbroken shot, and it's so amazing and awesome. Then there's The Spine of Night, which I think you'll really appreciate. It harkens back to heavy metal and Fire and Ice and a lot of Ralph Bakshi stuff because it is a rotoscoped fantasy film. The cast is pretty awesome. It's got Richard E. Grant, Lucy Lawless, Patton Oswalt, and it involves this magical land, and you don't really have a main character so much as we're following the rise of a bad guy through several centuries of living on this particular planet that the movie takes place in. The animation is stellar. It's really cool to see 2D animation after so long, and it's even cooler to see this particular kind of animation. It's very original. It's highly entertaining. Highly recommend that one. Yellow Veil Pictures put that one out. What else? Let me think. The best comedy I've seen all year is called Recovery. Hold on. They just switched the title when it got picked up. Stop and Go. That's what it's called now. Stop and Go involves two sisters who have to go save their grandma at the start of COVID from a nursing home because their third older sister, who lives close to grandma, is away on a cruise because she and her family don't believe COVID's that big of a deal. So these two sisters have to drive cross country to, I think it's Washington State. I could be misremembering that. And it's about their misadventures on the road along the way. The two leads are so perfect together. They're so funny. The chemistry is so utterly fantastic that I got 5 minutes into watching it when my wife popped her head out of the other room and said, "What are you watching? This is great." I'm like, "I know." So I stopped it, watched something else, and then went back to it with her so we could watch it together.
Okay.
It's hilarious every second of the way. It is fantastic. Another recent thing I actually already brought up, Lost at Christmas. Sounds like a Hallmark movie, both in title and its plot. These two people wind up needing to combine their resources to get back to Glasgow for Christmas, and it's about their misadventures along the way. They get shut down at the Chig Inn. Anybody from that part of the world is going to yell at me for horribly mispronouncing that. I realize.
I mangle names all the time.
And it's less comedic than that makes it sound. It's very much a drama about these people, and the first 20 minutes are just following their two stories about why and how they end up alone on Christmas Eve away from home, and it's about them coming together, discovering all these things. And there are funny moments, absolutely, but it is just this heartfelt drama, and the actors are so good. And Ryan Hendrick, who co-wrote and directed the film, he is a master visual storyteller. He can frame a shot so perfectly that just the shot itself tells you everything you need to know about what the characters are feeling or thinking. Piggyback off that, as I mentioned briefly, he did make a short called Sundown. I don't know if it's available anywhere, but if one can find that short is also pure gold. Let me make my life easy and actually look this up. Give me another second here.
Sure.
I can just look up everything I've reviewed this year. I don't know why I didn't do this before.
How many movies have you watched so far this year?
I have absolutely no idea. I watch at least one movie a day every day. I've been doing that since high school, since 9th grade of high school. One movie a day.
Yeah, this is actually this has actually been my least watched films in a very long time. I've only watched like 110, and I'm like, wow, I got to do better next year.
I love Letterboxd.
Yeah, Letterboxd is amazing.
to be on Letterboxd. Okay. Another movie is called uh, Borealis.
Looks like looks like you got frozen, Bobby.
Letterboxd. Yeah, they're great. Watching so much, viewing and editing all the time. To get back into.
Let's see. Hold on here.
All right, and I'm back. Can you see me? I can see you again.
Okay, can you see me all right? There you go. There you go.
I'm gonna do a little dance until you tell me it's time.
You're dancing.
You're good?
Okay.
All right. Okay. All right. So I'm just going to start at the beginning of what I was saying. But you were saying something about Letterboxd. I didn't quite catch all that.
Yeah, I love Letterboxd. I use that to track everything down. I wish they would do TV series. If they did that, Letterboxd would be perfect. But they don't do TV series yet. Huh?
I said, yeah, no.
Yeah. I wish they did. I'm waiting for I'm waiting for someone like Letterboxd to where if they did TV series, they would have a box. You type in the name of the series that you in, and then it has a box where you could check to see how many seasons of that show that you own. So that way you could track that. Like that would be a really nice thing that they could do, but they haven't done anything like that yet. Yeah, but I love Letterboxd. Letterboxd is really good. All right, go ahead.
All right. I'm going to start at the beginning because I don't know at what point I got frozen from this. So there's this movie that's very strange, so bear with me. It's called Borella Borealis. It's about a lady living with Lyme disease. She's had it for like 25 years, and she feels like she's never had a life because of how careful she has to be living with it. During COVID, a person, a total stranger who lives several streets away, calls her by accident, and they end up striking conversation, and then they fall in love. And then he teaches her how to have out-of-body experiences so they can meet up in the ethereal plane. And that's the plot of the film. And on several occasions throughout the movie, I almost cried my eyes out. The acting is amazing. It's heartbreaking. It's funny. It's perfect.
Who put that out?
That's a good question. I know
that sounds like
Catherine Isabel Easton stars in the film. She also wrote and directed it. As far as it being distributed by somebody, I'm not sure who that was, or if it's been distributed at all yet. At Film Threat, we do get movies that are looking for distribution, and one of the ways they do it is by, hey, we have all these good reviews from all these people. You want us because we're getting accolades, So it might not even be out to get somewhere. I hope it is. I really do want to rewatch it because it's just that good.
Yeah. I have one question for you before I get to your bad movies. What do you like reviewing off of? Do you like reviewing off of screeners or physical?
I would say screeners, just because it's easier to manage. I can just put all of them into a single folder in my email account and just work off of that.
Yeah, I'm doing more screeners, and I'm a physical guy. I love the physical media aspect of it. Though I have been doing more and more screeners. They finally came up with an idea to how to hook me too, because before they would send me the movie and say, how about you reviewing this movie? And I'm going like, well, can I get a physical copy of that?
Mm-hmm.
No, but I know going well more so YouTube than my blog. My blog, honestly, I felt like I deserved it. I felt like I deserved the physical copy of it because I'm drawing 30,000 views to that.
Yeah,
To my,
totally.
there's a lot of people coming over to see it, so I felt like I earned that. But doing YouTube as I'm doing now, no, I get that, and then I know I don't warrant that. I mean, I don't have nearly the footprint like I do for my blog. So, but still, I still ask like, do you have a physical copy? And they sit there and no, we don't have any, because or we have limited copies. But so a lot of times I would pass. But lately they come up with something a little different, and now what they're doing is they're offering the screeners and then a chance to interview people.
Yep.
So now I'm finding myself going like, oh, okay, maybe I will watch that screener now. But as long as I get an interview, if you set me up an interview, I'll do it. I'll go ahead and review the movie.
Makes
Um,
sense.
yeah. So that's right now. I'm trying to negotiate Najara Townsend. I've actually known her name for quite a while,
Mhm.
and they said, and I think the movie's called The Dark of the Road, and they're saying, well, we want you to watch this, and they said, you can interview cast and crew, and so that's the first thing I said was, well, I get to interview Najara Townsend because if I'm able to do that, I'm going to be more than happy to review your film. I don't know if that's ethical or not. I don't know. All I know is that I love to talk to her, and it's like I'm like I'm willing to do an interview. I'm willing to review the film for you if I get that. I'm willing, you want that from me, but this is what I want from you. To me, it's a give and take. It's like you're offering it, I'm taking it. You know, uh, yeah.
Makes sense.
I don't know. I don't know. Is that ethical or not? I don't know. I hope it's fair. I think it's fair.
I mean, if it's already something they're offering, then I think it's okay.
Okay,
I,
yeah.
I,
I don't think
um,
it's right to not to interview somebody. Like I tried this. I did try this. I watched a couple of movies. I watched this one movie they did. I got sent to, and I wanted to interview the director. They gave me the opportunity to, and I went ahead and I said, okay, let's I want to talk to him. But then at the last minute, he wouldn't interview. He wouldn't interview with me after he said he would. And then they were after me going like, "Are you going to review the film? Are you going to review the film?" I'm like, I don't think I am. I don't think I'm going to review it simply for the fact that he said he was going to interview with me and then he
mhm.
didn't. I don't really feel obligated to review your film, and
Yeah,
I just didn't feel that way.
that makes
Um,
sense.
um, yeah. Okay. Let's last topic before I let you go. Last topic. Tell us your three least favorite films.
Before we get to that, there's one more good movie I want to mention, and that's
Sure.
Pharma Bro. It's a documentary about Martin Scarelli.
Yeah. Like I said.
It's from the director of my favorite documentary of the last decade, Who Let the Dogs Out, which is about the copyright issues surrounding the Who Let the Dogs Out. This one chronicles Scarelli's infamous rise to becoming the most hated man in America, and it's fascinating. It's so engaging. The filmmaker moves into the same apartment building as Martin Scarelli. It gets wild. Highly recommend that one as well. That's probably the best documentary I've seen all year. Anyway, all right, moving on to bad films. The absolute worst thing I've seen all year is the Netflix original movie Red Notice with Ryan Reynolds, Gal Gadot, and
Oh yeah, that looked like a
Dwayne
piece of
Johnson.
shit rolling, rolling
Um,
downhill.
Hated this movie. I don't know how you take those three talented, fun people and just deprive them of all charm. They are all reprehensibly awful in this film, meaning it's not their fault because they're all equally bad. The story's predictable and trite, and I hated everything about it.
Yeah,
Just, it's the worst thing ever. If anybody watching this has not seen it but plan to, do you give yourself an early Christmas present? Don't
no,
watch it. It's awful. And I say this having loved Jungle Cruise. I'm not against The Rock whatsoever. I thought Jungle Cruise was terrific amounts of fun. It's just this particular movie is as wretched as you can ever possibly imagine. Um, The next film is got to be Cinderella, the Amazon Prime original musical with Camilla Cabello or whatever her name is. I don't care enough to look it up, to be honest.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Sorry about that. It's awful. They wrote songs that this person who's known as a singer, she's not an actress who can sing. She's a pop star. And they wrote songs that are out of her range. It's baffling to me that they did this. The songs aren't good. They're not catchy. Pierce Brosnan's in it. Luckily, they don't have him sing. So that's
Yeah,
like the one thing in their favor.
We saw that Mamma Mia already. We don't need to read.
I seem to like James Corden more than most people, but even in this film, it's way too much. It's super obnoxious and annoying. And he's one of the rats to become a coachman when that eventually happens in the story. The movie wants to be both meta and not at the same time. Characterizations for people don't make sense. It's a train wreck on every imaginable level. And I sat there gobsmacked with my mouth open the entire time, hating myself for watching it. It's bad. Then the last bad movie that I just don't think is worth it. I feel really, really, really bad for not liking, because I want to. It should have been better than it was. It's a little documentary called, I want to get the name right. Hold on. Lost New, a Fallout Snow Globe Road Trip. So, backing up for those who don't know, Fallout is a video game series, started in the 90s. It's still going today. It's very, very popular. It's one of my favorite video game series of all time. In one of them, you can go around collecting snow globes. The person who made this particular documentary is a huge fan, and he made snow globes to replicate the ones from the game. They went on a road trip to place these snow globes in their real world counterparts versus where they were in the game.
Okay.
On paper, this should be awesome. It involves a video game series I love. It's a documentary about somebody following the passion for the video game series and something creative they're doing about that passion. But the whole thing wound up being very pointless. There was no need to tell this story for a variety of reasons. I don't want to really spoil things in case people do watch it, because this is the least terrible thing I'm discussing right now, mind you. Like, Red Notice is awful. Cinderella is awful. This is simply lackluster, if that difference makes sense.
Right.
And I feel bad for not liking, because it's this kid. He has, a camera and his phone. He's driving around with his mom and dad. And that's it. That's the entire movie. He's interviewing some people. Some people are employees at the various places he's leaving these snow globes. There's a Fallout sort of like convention thing that happens that he interviews fans there. All of this makes it sound more interesting than it is. And then at the end of it, you're just waiting for what did I learn from this? And there's really nothing. There's no information gained from doing this. There's no real insight into what drove him to do this. There's no real insight into how he feels now that it's accomplished. It's ultimately a letdown. Is it utterly devoid of artistic merit? No, there's actually several shots that look really good or some clever editing throughout, but it doesn't work.
That's a shame too, because most documentaries they do work, on some level. They're always something positive about it, for the most part. Though I haven't watched very many. I haven't watched any true crime because I just don't want to see that, I guess, myself.
That makes sense.
But I mean, as far as documentaries go, someone asked me earlier, what documentaries do I like? I like, now I like nature. I like nature. I like, that sort of thing. PBS, National Geographic, that sort of thing. if it's something, I have one that I really want to watch called I know it's an older movie, but I've never watched it, but it looks really cute. And that's this guy, My Date with Drew, where he's trying to get a date with Drew Barrymore.
Mm-hmm.
That looks really cute. I
It's
haven't,
good. I like that one.
yeah,
I
I like
wouldn't say it's perfect, but it is a lot of fun. It's very charming
right.
and very sweet.
Bobby, I can't thank you. I just barely scratched the surface. I still wanted to talk. I still wanted to talk more independence,
I
more.
mean, I don't know about you, but I planned all night, so
Oh yeah. Unfortunately, I try to keep a format. I want to overkeep
I
you.
know.
Because you know what they're saying. Keep them wanting more. I definitely going to have you come back.
I would love to.
We'll do this again. I'll probably do a roundtable next time for sure.
Cool.
I think you know Brian Scuttle. I think you know him, right?
Mm-hmm. I
Um,
know him a little bit. Yeah.
yeah, and then maybe Christopher George from Movie Sleuth. And maybe we'll grab another one. I like to get a roundtable of like 3 or 4 professional critics because I just think you guys see things differently than the average guy, than the average Joe, like we are. I just do. I think you see it. I think you see it differently than we do, and I always like to see how that works. Um, yeah, I've been busting my ass trying to get Chris Alexander to come on here, and for the life of me, I can't. I got Tom Joliffe coming next week.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I think you know Tom from
I,
Flickering Myth.
I know of him. I don't believe we've ever like talked virtually or anything like that. But yeah,
Oh, okay. Well, I got him coming on next week at 2 o'clock Eastern time.
nice.
I'll send you a reminder if you want to come in and take a look, or I'll send you the replay of it. And
Yeah. I have an inconsistent work schedule, which is why I'm not always on your streams. But if I can make it, I will be there.
sure. So you mentioned I know you're not doing your YouTube channel per se. Are you starting to think about maybe starting to restart it a little bit on some level? Because I think if you do, I mean, I definitely like to hype it out.
I am not. I just with Film Threat, I don't just write. I'm also one of the editors, and I do a bunch of other stuff for them.
Yeah,
And I'm not complaining. I love doing that. I love the people I work with
of
there
course.
and all that stuff. But it takes so much time.
Yes,
Um,
it does. It really
uh,
does.
so not in the near future. Anybody interested? They can go back and look at my old work. Some of it I think turned out really well. Some of it is like, oh, why did I ever publish that?
Oh my gosh,
Um,
it's so much fun. You're no that no. We've
but
already got you
I
dropped.
am happy with my time on YouTube. Maybe one day I'll return. Maybe a year from now, um, Film Threat will be in a place where they could hire me full time, so I won't have a proper day job. Um, I doubt that would happen, but hypothetically, and if that were to happen, then yeah, I'd probably bring YouTube back because as it stands now, I have my Film Threat work, and then I have my day job to pay bills.
Right.
And between those two things, I don't have a lot of time for other stuff in terms of content creation because I'm still trying to also have a life outside of both of those things. So
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Let's see. Oh, that was I don't know what's that's going on, Bones. That's the third one that's come through. It must be some sort of new bot. So I just been eliminating it. I don't think there are any links to them. It's just a nuisance. We don't get trolls very often here, but someone's been coming in and dropping a comment that says VOG, and then is VOG, then period, then FIY, like for your information. I don't know what the VOG stands for, so I'm just eliminating it because,
I got you.
yeah. All right, folks, that'll be it for us. I want to thank our guest, Bobby LePire from Film Threat Magazine. I'd like to thank their chat to come in and hanging out with us, and me and Brett here. Brett's been our co-host. Tomorrow night we'll be back at 8 o'clock with Calvin Tucker, who also is known as Black Noah. He is the animal rescuer from Bessemer, Alabama, and has a story to tell. And then we will be back on Friday night for our second shot at interviewing the lovely Sherry Davis from the Amityville Moon, and yeah, we tried it before, and her tech just wasn't working
Oh,
yesterday.
no, sad.
Yeah, yeah, we'll get it. We'll get it going. We'll be back on Friday, and then that's it for us. Thank you so much, and we'll
Thanks
see you
for having me,
tomorrow.
dude. This was fun.
Yeah, we're gonna do it again. I'm gonna have you come back a lot sooner than later. That's for sure.
Cool.
Stay right where you're at, and we'll talk a little bit. Till the next one.